Israel's strategic infrastructure. The Israeli attack involved hundreds of warplanes, and instructions were immediately conveyed to the public via the home front command for everyone to be alert and stay close to a bomb shelter. Hezbollah launched hundreds of weapons into Israeli territory in response, as Iranian-backed militias in Iraq launched drones towards Haifa. In the Gaza Strip, the IDF continues to fight. 3 reservists were killed, 2 of them from an explosive device in Zaytun. Meanwhile, the negotiations over a deal to bring about a ceasefire and the release of the remaining hostages appears to be on the brink of collapse, as reports from Cairo indicate no progress. Let's dive into the details. 123rd day of the war against Hamas, Hezbollah, Iran, and all of its terror proxies in Yemen, Iraq, and Syria. And behind me, you see one of the Israeli houses that was directly hit by a Hezbollah missile. The last 24 hours have seen tremendous escalation of kinetic activity on the northern front, with Israel getting in the first punch with a preemptive strike early Sunday morning. The preemptive strike thwarted the plans of Hezbollah to launch a surprise attack of their own, targeting Israeli strategic facilities, military bases, and perhaps even Ben Gurion International Airport. As it was, they managed to fire hundreds of rockets at civilian communities in the Galilee, the Golan Heights, alongside firing also at Akko, Ein HaMifratz, Ma'alot, and Tzfat. The IDF spokesman announced that approximately 100 fighter jets of the Air Force, under the direction of the Northern Command and the Intelligence Division, attacked and destroyed thousands of Hezbollah launch pads that were set up and planted in southern Lebanon. Most of them were directed towards the north and some towards the center of Israel. Many of these launchers were loaded with rockets and ready to fire. Anti-aircraft systems and stockpiles of Hezbollah's long-range missiles were also hit and destroyed. IDF intelligence had discovered that Hezbollah planned to launch a large barrage at Tel Aviv early Sunday morning. A Western intelligence source told the New York Times that the Israeli attack on these launchers had succeeded in destroying all of them, putting an end to the immediate threat and doing severe damage to Hezbollah's strategic arsenal. The preemptive attack was approved late Saturday night by Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu and Defense Minister Yoav Gallant, following discussions at the Kiryat IDF headquarters in Tel Aviv. IDF spokesman Rear Admiral Daniel Hagari made an unusual early morning statement on Sunday about the preemptive attack, warning that this is one of the first stages of a difficult campaign. Residents of the north are advised to stay close to their bomb shelters and otherwise be on high alert for the possibility of incoming rockets and UAVs.
A short while ago, the IDF identified Hezbollah terrorist organization preparing to fire missiles, rockets towards Israeli territory. In a self-defense act to remove these threats, the IDF is striking terror targets in Lebanon from which Hezbollah was planning to launch their attacks on Israeli civilians.
According to Hagari, in the near future, Hezbollah will launch rockets and possibly missiles and unmanned aerial vehicles towards the territory of the State of Israel. The Air Force was ready to immediately launch an elaborate operation mechanism, and accordingly, we began an operation to remove the threat in any area we identified it. There are several such focal points in southern Lebanon. We understand that we will encounter rockets, drones, and possibly missiles as well. It is highly probable that we will encounter various types of threats on the home front.
Israel will not tolerate Hezbollah's attacks on our civilians. We are operating in self-defense from Hezbollah and any other enemy that joins in their attacks against us. And we are ready to do everything we need to defend the people of Israel.
About 45 minutes later, Hezbollah began launching heavy barrages of rockets, declaring that this is the response to the elimination of Wad Shukar. We have completed the first phase. This is according to Hezbollah. It is very important for you to understand the situation that Israel is facing. Hezbollah is a dangerous and insidious enemy that has been threatening Israel's northern border for decades. We fought a war with them in 2006, and as soon as it was over, both sides began to prepare for the next round. It took much longer to happen than anyone thought it would, but now it's here. Hezbollah has been making what can be called harassing attacks into the Galilee since October 8th of last year, but it can do much more. It has a vast arsenal of deadly weapons that it can fire into Israel, and in recent weeks, it has already begun to increase the tempo of its attacks on civilian communities. Israeli intelligence was not distracted by this, however, keeping a close eye on the threat of a massive attack. In the last 24 hours, preparations for such a massive attack were detected, and the plans to neutralize that threat were put into effect. Early Sunday morning, Israel's Defense Minister Yoav Gallant spoke with U.S. Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin and said that the two discussed the need to prevent regional escalation. According to the Defense Ministry statement, Gallant told Austin that we attacked Lebanon in a targeted manner in order to remove an immediate threat to the citizens of Israel. We are following what is happening in Beirut and are determined to use all the means at our disposal to protect our citizens. A senior Hezbollah security source recently said that Sheikh Hassan Nasrallah, the leader of Hezbollah, has three main objectives. They are deterring Israel from continuing assassinations at the top of the organization, creating a geographic equation according to which Beirut threatens Tel Aviv, and an action that will not lead to an Israeli response, which will result in a deterioration into a regional war. We will have to see how much of Nasrallah's plans and objectives will continue in the new situation. In any case, they began launching large numbers of rockets and missiles into the Galilee shortly after the Israeli attack began, prompting the IDF Home Front Command to issue directives to the civilian population banning large public gatherings in areas north of Gush Dan, that's the center of Israel. However, most normal activities such as work and education